The coffee maker gurgled its familiar morning song, but Elena's chair sat empty. I stared at the untouched mug I'd prepared for her, watching steam curl into nothingness, much like my marriage, I was beginning to realize. It had been 7 days since my wife walked out our front door with nothing but her purse and her phone. 7 days of unreturned calls, messages left on read, and a silence so complete it felt like drowning. Our friends offered theories. Maybe she needed space, perhaps a family emergency, could be a mental health crisis. But I knew better. A wife who loves you doesn't vanish without a word. A wife who respects you doesn't let you wonder if she's alive or dead. I sat at our kitchen table, the one we'd picked out together 3 years ago when we bought this house, and opened my laptop. If Elena wouldn't tell me the truth, I'd find it myself. The bank statements appeared on screen, each transaction a small betrayal. A hotel charge from 6 days ago, the Riverside Inn, 40 minutes outside the city. Dinner for 2 at Romano's, the expensive Italian place she'd always said was too pretentious when I suggested it. Lingerie from that boutique downtown, the kind she never wore for me anymore. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. There, her phone's location history, still shared from when we'd set it up, for safety. The Riverside Inn, again and again. And then yesterday, movement. She was coming home. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt something colder. Certainty. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in our living room, watching headlights pass on the street outside, each one making my heart rate spike. Around 2 a.m., I finally moved to our bedroom, the bedroom we'd shared, where we'd made love on lazy Sunday mornings, where she'd traced patterns on my chest and whispered plans for our future. I opened her nightstand drawer, something I'd never done without permission. Beneath old magazines and a tangled phone charger, I found it. A second phone, cheap and basic. My stomach dropped as I powered it on. The messages loaded slowly, each one a knife wound. "Can't wait to see you again, baby. Your husband's such a fool. Leave him already. We could have this every day." And her responses, playful and eager, calling this stranger, this man named Trevor, things she used to call me. I read every message, forcing myself to absorb the full scope of her deception. There were photos too, intimate ones that made my vision blur with rage and hurt. They'd been seeing each other for 4 months. 4 months of lies, of her kissing me goodbye in the morning and texting him before she'd even left our driveway. The phone also revealed where Trevor lived, an apartment complex on the east side, where he worked, a gym where Elena had supposedly been getting in shape, where they'd been meeting, planning, building a relationship while our marriage rotted from the inside. I placed the phone back exactly as I'd found it and walked to my office. Over the next few hours, I made calls. My lawyer first. We'd been friends since college, and he answered despite the ungodly hour. Then my accountant, then the bank. By sunrise, I'd done what needed to be done. The house was in my name only, a detail from before our marriage that Elena had never thought to question. Our joint account I'd emptied except for $1. The car she drove, leased under my company. All of it legally mine. When Elena walked through the door 3 days later, I was ready. The lock clicked at 3:47 p.m. on Thursday. I'd been sitting on the couch, positioned so I'd see her the moment she entered. I wanted to watch her face, to see if there'd be shame or remorse. There wasn't. Elena walked in looking radiant, actually, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in months. Her hair was styled differently, loose and carefree. She wore a new dress, something fitted and bold that I'd never seen before. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who believed she held all the cards. "Hey," she said, dropping her purse on the table like this was just another Thursday, like she hadn't been gone for a week without a word. I didn't respond immediately. I just looked at her. Really looked, trying to find the woman I'd married in this stranger's face. "Are you going to say something, Nathan?" She sighed, like I was being difficult. "Look, I know you're upset, but..." "Where were you?" My voice came out calmer than I expected. She waved a hand dismissively. I needed time to think. Time away from all this. She gestured vaguely at our home, our life. You're always so intense, so demanding. A woman needs space to breathe. The audacity of it almost made me laugh. I'd given her everything. My love, my trust, my commitment to building a life together. And she called that demanding. You should be grateful I even came back, she continued, examining her nails. A lot of women wouldn't have. They would have just sent divorce papers and been done with it. There it was. The line I'd been waiting for. The entitled arrogance that confirmed every decision I'd made over the past week. I stood up slowly, and something in my movement made her pause. Maybe it was the lack of the desperate anger she'd expected. Maybe it was the coldness in my eyes. Grateful? I said quietly. You want me to be grateful? Yes, Nathan. Grateful. I came back. I'm here. We can work through whatever issues. I found your phone, Elena. The second one. The blood drained from her face in an instant. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I know about Trevor. I know about the Riverside Inn. I know about every lie you've told me for the past 4 months. I took a step toward her. I know you had dinner at Romano's last Tuesday. The pasta primavera, wasn't it? And that lingerie you bought? Did he enjoy it as much as you thought he would? Nathan, I can explain. Her voice had gone shrill, panicky. I'm sure you can. You're good at stories, Elena. You had me believing we were happy while you were building a whole other life. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the document I'd prepared. Here's what you need to know. This house, it's mine, solely mine, always has been. The joint account you're thinking about cleaning out? Already emptied. Your car? Company lease, getting returned tomorrow. Her eyes went wide. You can't. I can. I did. My lawyer filed the divorce papers this morning. You'll be served tomorrow. I watched her process this, watched the reality crash over her like ice water. You're right about one thing, though. You should have just sent the papers yourself. Would have saved you the trip back. She tried to touch my arm, her fingers desperate. Baby, please, we can talk about this. I made a mistake, I know, but we have history. We have love. I pulled away from her touch like it burned. Don't you dare call me baby. Don't pretend there's love here. My voice cracked despite my best efforts. You destroyed that. You killed it slowly over 4 months of lies and betrayal. It meant nothing, she cried. Trevor was just a distraction. You're my husband. You're the one I... Stop. The word came out hard. Just stop. I read your messages, Elena. All of them. You called him the love of your life. You made plans to leave me. You laughed about me with him. Tears started streaming down her face, but they looked calculated, rehearsed. I was confused. I didn't mean those things. You meant every word. I walked to the door, opened it. You have 2 hours to pack whatever clothes and personal items you want. Everything else stays. My lawyer will be in touch about the division of any remaining assets, though I should warn you, there aren't many.
Elena didn't move toward the door. Instead, she collapsed onto the couch, her tears coming harder now, her shoulders shaking. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 5 years, that had promised to stand by her through anything, wanted to comfort her. But I'd learned this past week that sometimes love isn't enough, and promises only matter when both people keep them. Nathan, please, she sobbed. Just let me explain everything. Let me tell you my side. Against my better judgment, I closed the door. Not because I thought her explanation would change anything, but because I needed to understand. I needed to know how we'd gotten here, how the woman who'd cried happy tears at our wedding had become someone who could betray me so completely. I sat in the chair across from her, careful to maintain distance. You have 1 hour, then you pack and you leave. She wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara. It started innocently. Trevor was just my trainer at the gym. We'd talk between sets, he'd encourage me, make me laugh. You were always working, Nathan. Always at the office or on your laptop. I felt invisible. So you decided to have an affair because I worked to provide for us? The bitterness in my voice was sharp. No, that's not... She stopped, took a breath. It wasn't just about you working. It was about us losing connection. When was the last time we really talked? Really spent time together? You were always tired, always stressed. She wasn't entirely wrong, and that stung. I had been working long hours on a major project, but I'd been doing it for us, to build our future, to save for the house renovation she wanted and the trip to Europe we'd planned. So instead of talking to me about it, you found comfort with Trevor. I said it as a statement, not a question. At first, it really was just friendship, but he paid attention to me, Nathan. He noticed when I changed my hair. He asked about my day and actually listened to the answers. He made me feel seen. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He made me feel wanted. I wanted you, I said, my throat tight. I've always wanted you. Every day I came home to you was a gift. Every morning I woke up next to you was a blessing. Maybe I didn't say it enough, maybe I didn't show it enough, but it was true. Past tense, she noted quietly, was true. You killed it, Elena. You took what we had and you destroyed it. I leaned forward. When did it become physical? She flinched. Does it matter? Yes. 2 months ago, we'd gone for coffee after a training session, and we kissed in his car. I told myself it was just once, that I'd stop, but I didn't. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I didn't want to stop. Being with him felt like being alive again, like I mattered. The words hit like punches, each one landing somewhere soft and vital. You mattered to me. You've always mattered to me. Then why did it feel like I was just another item on your to-do list? Her voice rose with frustration. Why did I have to schedule time to have dinner with my own husband? Why did you look at your phone more than you looked at me? I wanted to defend myself, to list all the ways I'd tried to be a good husband. The flowers I brought home, the dishes I did without being asked, the way I remembered her coffee order and made it every morning. But maybe she was right. Maybe I'd been so focused on providing that I'd forgotten to be present. You're not wrong, I admitted. I could have been better. I should have made more time, been more attentive. But Elena, the answer to that wasn't betrayal. It was conversation, marriage counseling, anything but what you did. I know. Her voice was small. I know that now. This week, being away, I realized what I was losing. Trevor, he's fun for an escape, but he's not you. He doesn't know my dreams or my fears. He doesn't remember that I take my tea with honey, not sugar. He doesn't know about my mother's illness or why I can't watch certain movies because they remind me of my dad. But he knows what you look like naked, I said coldly. He knows what you sound like when... Stop. She covered her face. Please stop. We sat in silence for a long moment. Outside, I could hear kids playing, someone mowing their lawn, all the sounds of normal suburban life continuing, while mine fell apart. Where were you planning to go? I finally asked. When you left last week, what was the plan? Elena's hands dropped from her face. Trevor has this friend with a cabin upstate. We went there. He'd been asking me to leave you for weeks, saying we could start fresh together. I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I could just start over, leave all the guilt and complications behind. And I realized he didn't really know me at all. He talked about me quitting my job, moving to where his gym is, becoming a full-time fitness influencer or some nonsense. She laughed bitterly. I'm an accountant, Nathan. I like spreadsheets and tax law. He didn't care about that. He just wanted the version of me I'd created for him. The fun, carefree woman who wasn't weighed down by real life. So you came back to real life. To me. I came back to my husband. To our home. To everything I threw away for a fantasy. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Nathan, I'm so sorry. I know those words aren't enough, but I am. I'm so deeply, completely sorry." I stood up, needing distance from her remorse and her tears. "Your hour's almost up. You should start packing." "You won't even consider counseling? Working through this?" The desperation in her voice was palpable. "How can I ever trust you again, Elena? Every time you're late from work, every time you pick up your phone, every time you tell me you're going to the gym, how do I believe you? How do I sleep next to someone who betrayed me so thoroughly and not wonder if you're doing it again?" She had no answer for that. Elena stood, her movements slow and defeated. "Can I at least shower and change before I pack? I've been wearing these clothes for 2 days. I nodded, watching as she walked toward our bedroom, soon to be just my bedroom. She paused at the doorway, looking back at me, with something like hope in her eyes. But I remained standing by the window, my posture making it clear there would be no reconciliation, no matter how many tears she shed. The sound of the shower running felt surreal. How many times had I heard that same sound and thought about joining her, about pressing her against the tiles and losing ourselves in each other. We'd had an active, passionate physical relationship once. Sunday mornings had been sacred, lazy hours spent tangled in sheets, exploring each other with the familiarity of long-term lovers who still desired each other deeply. I remembered one morning specifically, about 8 months ago, before everything went wrong. I'd woken to find her watching me sleep, her fingers tracing the line of my jaw. "I love you," she'd whispered. "I love you so much it scares me sometimes." I'd pulled her close, kissed her deeply, and we'd made love as golden light streamed through the curtains. She'd fallen asleep afterward with her head on my chest, and I thought, this is what happiness feels like. When had her "I love yous" become routine instead of reverent? When had that changed? When had my kisses goodbye become absent-minded instead of meaningful? The shower shut off, and 15 minutes later, Elena emerged in yoga pants and an old college t-shirt. My college t-shirt, one I'd given her years ago. The sight of her in it felt like another small betrayal, another thing she'd taken that she had no right to anymore. "I need to tell you something else," she said quietly, standing in the doorway with wet hair dripping onto her shoulders. "About why I really came back." Besides the cabin fantasy falling apart, I couldn't keep the sarcasm from my voice. "Trevor, he found out about the house, about your money, about the life I had here." She wrapped her arms around herself. "He got different when he realized. Started talking about how we could take you for alimony, how I deserved half of everything. He had this lawyer friend, and they were planning to rob me blind in the divorce," I finished. The pieces clicked together. "That's why you came back. Not because you realized you loved me or made a mistake. Because you wanted to control the narrative, file first, play the victim." "No. I mean, yes, he suggested that, but that's not why I came back. I came back because when he started talking like that, I realized how ugly everything had become. I realized I didn't want to be that person. Someone who destroys her husband out of selfishness and greed." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "How noble of you. You just wanted to destroy me emotionally, not financially." "That's not fair." "None of this is fair, Elena." My composure finally cracked. "You don't get to play the victim here. You don't get to act like you deserve credit for not being an even worse person than you already were." She flinched, tears starting again. "I know. You're right. I wanted you to know that when I walked through that door, part of me hoped we could somehow fix this. That maybe the man I married would still be there, would still want to fight for us." He was there. Every single day of our marriage, he was there, being faithful and committed and in love with you. I moved closer to her, my voice low and intense. "But you killed him, Elena. You took that man who would have done anything for you and you killed him with every lie, every secret meeting, every time you let another man touch you." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and final. Elena's face crumpled, and she slid down the doorframe until she was sitting on the floor, sobbing openly now. I want to hate you, I continued, my own voice breaking. I want to feel nothing but anger and contempt. But the worst part is, I still love you. Some pathetic part of me still loves the woman you used to be, the woman I thought you were, and I hate myself for that weakness. Then let that love save us, she pleaded, looking up at me with desperate eyes. Let it be enough to try again. I'll do anything, Nathan. Counseling, therapy, complete transparency. I'll give you all my passwords, my location, everything. I'll quit the gym, change my number. I'll spend every day for the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of a second chance. For a moment, just a moment, I wavered. Because despite everything, the idea of losing her forever felt like losing a limb. We had history, memories, years of shared life. Our wedding day when she looked at me like I was her whole world. The miscarriage we'd weathered together 2 years ago, holding each other through the grief. The night her father died and she'd fallen apart in my arms, and I'd held her until dawn. But then I thought about Trevor. About her in his bed, in his arms, giving him the intimacy that should have been mine alone. I thought about her laughing at his jokes while ignoring my calls. I thought about her planning a future with him while lying next to me at night. No, I said finally, no second chances. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed. She stayed on the floor, broken and weeping, while I walked away to the kitchen. I couldn't watch her pain anymore, not when it was entirely self-inflicted, not when my own pain was so overwhelming I could barely breathe. 20 minutes later, I heard her in the bedroom, opening drawers and closet doors. The sounds of her packing up pieces of our life. I stayed in the kitchen, drinking coffee that had gone cold, staring at nothing. She emerged an hour later with 2 suitcases and a garment bag. Her eyes were swollen, her face blotchy, all her earlier confidence completely shattered. I'm going to stay with my sister, she said. Your lawyer can send the papers there. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She walked to the door, then paused with her hand on the knob. Nathan, I really am sorry. I know you don't believe me, but it's true. You deserve so much better than what I gave you. Yes, I agreed quietly. I did. She left, and the door closing behind her sounded like the end of everything.
The house felt cavernous without her. I walked through rooms that echoed with memories, each corner holding some ghost of our shared past. The kitchen where we'd cooked together, dancing between the stove and the sink. The living room where we'd binge-watched shows and argued playfully about plot twists. The bedroom where we'd shared our bodies and our dreams. That first night alone, I couldn't sleep in our bed. I tried. I lay there for 2 hours, staring at the ceiling, acutely aware of the empty space beside me. Finally, I moved to the guest room, but even there, sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying moments, searching for signs I'd missed, clues that could have warned me about what was happening. Had she been texting Trevor when she said she was checking work emails? Had she been thinking about him when we made love? How many times had she lied straight to my face with that sweet smile I'd trusted so completely? Around 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to my office. I pulled up the evidence I'd gathered, the phone records, the hotel charges, the messages. I made myself read through them again, letting the pain wash over me in waves. Some people might call it masochistic, but I needed to feel it, to let it burn through me so I could eventually burn it out. One message thread made me physically ill. Trevor, when are you going to leave that boring husband of yours? Elena, soon, baby. I just need to figure out the logistics. Trevor, what's there to figure out? Just pack your shit and go. Elena, it's not that simple. There's the house, money, all our joint stuff. Trevor, so take what you can. You deserve it after putting up with him for so long. Elena, sometimes I feel guilty, you know? He's not a bad person. Trevor, but he's not the right person. I am. Stop feeling guilty and start feeling free. Elena, you always know what to say to make me feel better. God, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I'm already thinking about your hands on me, the way you... I closed the laptop before I could read more. Some details were better left unknown. The next few days passed in a blur. I went to work, performed my duties mechanically, came home to an empty house. Friends started calling. Elena had apparently been spreading her own version of events to our social circle. According to her narrative, I'd been emotionally distant and neglectful, driving her into Trevor's arms. She painted herself as a woman who'd made a mistake, but wanted to work on the marriage, while I was the cold, unforgiving husband who refused to try. My best friend Jake came over on Friday night with pizza and beer. He'd known me since college, had been my best man at the wedding, and he looked at me now with a mixture of concern and anger. "Tell me the truth," he said, handing me a beer. "All of it." So I did. I showed him the evidence, told him everything Elena had confessed. His face grew darker with each revelation. "That manipulative," he caught himself. "Nathan, I'm so sorry. I can't believe she's out there playing victim when she did this to you." "It's easier for people to believe," I said. "The distant husband who drove his wife away is a more comfortable narrative than the wife who just decided to betray her marriage for excitement." "Screw comfortable. It's not true." Jake set down his beer. "You were a good husband. You worked hard, yeah, but you did it for both of you. You were building a life." "Apparently that wasn't enough." "It was enough. She just didn't value it." He leaned forward. "Listen to me. This is not on you. You could have been the perfect husband, and she still might have cheated. Some people are just broken that way." His words should have comforted me, but they didn't. Because part of me still wondered, if I'd come home earlier, talked more, paid more attention, would things have been different? Could I have prevented this? The divorce papers were served the following Tuesday. Elena's lawyer called mine immediately, trying to negotiate. Apparently, Elena wanted the car, half the value of the house, and a portion of my retirement accounts. My lawyer, Thomas, actually laughed when he relayed this to me. "She has no legal standing for any of it," he explained. "The house is premarital property. The car is a company lease. And with the evidence of adultery, most judges won't be sympathetic to her requests. She'll get whatever personal property she brought into the marriage and maybe some split of the joint savings account, but that's about it." "What about alimony?" "Given the short duration of the marriage and her infidelity? Unlikely. Even if she argues for it, the amount would be minimal and temporary." It should have felt like justice, but it just felt empty. I didn't want to punish Elena financially. I just wanted to not have loved her, not have trusted her, not have wasted 5 years on someone who could discard me so easily. 3 weeks after Elena left, I was cleaning out the garage when I found a box of photos. Our wedding album was on top, and against my better judgment, I opened it. There we were, young and stupidly happy, looking at each other like we'd just won the lottery. Elena's smile was radiant, her eyes full of love and promise. I was grinning like an idiot, my hand on her waist, pulling her close. I remembered that day so clearly. The way she'd cried during our vows, the way we'd danced to "At Last" by Etta James, the way she'd whispered, "I love you," against my lips during our first kiss as husband and wife. How had that woman become someone who could betray me so completely? My phone rang, jarring me from the memories. It was an unknown number, but I answered anyway. "Nathan?" Elena's voice was small, uncertain. "Please don't hang up." I should have. Every rational part of me knew I should just end the call, but I didn't. "What do you want, Elena?" I just wanted you to know that I ended things with Trevor, completely. I told him I didn't want to see him or hear from him ever again. "Congratulations. Want a medal?" "No, I wanted you to know. And I wanted to say I'm not going to fight the divorce terms. Whatever you and your lawyer decide is fair, I'll accept it. I don't want to drag this out or make it more painful than it already is. How noble of you. Nathan, please. I know I don't deserve your kindness or your forgiveness. I know I destroyed everything good we had. But I need you to know that what we had was real for me. The love was real. I lost my way. I got selfish and stupid, and I threw away the best thing in my life. Past tense again, I noted, echoing our earlier conversation. Had, was. Because I know it's over. I know you're never going to forgive me, never going to take me back. I accept that. I just needed you to know that my regret is real. My pain is real. I'm not just sorry I got caught. I'm sorry I did it at all. I closed the wedding album, unable to look at those happy strangers anymore. What do you want from me, Elena? Absolution? Permission to feel better about what you did? No. I wanted to hear your voice. To remember what it was like when you didn't hate me. I don't hate you, I said, and realized it was true. I wish I did. Hate would be cleaner, easier. But I just feel sad. Sad for what we could have been if you'd chosen differently. Sad for the life we'll never have. Sad for all of it. She was crying now. I could hear it in her breathing. I'm sad too. Every day I wake up and remember what I did, what I lost. It's like grief, Nathan. Like mourning someone who's still alive. Yeah, I said quietly. I know exactly what that's like. We stayed on the line in silence for a moment. Two people who'd once shared everything, now strangers connected only by pain. Goodbye, Elena, I finally said. Goodbye, Nathan. I hope someday you find someone who deserves you. Someone who treasures what I threw away. I ended the call and sat in the garage, surrounded by boxes of our old life, feeling the full weight of everything we'd lost. The future we'd planned, kids, growing old together, all of it, was gone, replaced by lawyers and division of assets and separate lives. But as I sat there, something shifted. The pain was still there, sharp and present, but beneath it, I felt something else. Possibility. The chance to rebuild, to start over, to find someone who would choose me every day, not just until something shinier came along. Elena had been right about one thing. You should be grateful when someone comes back. But what she'd failed to understand was that coming back wasn't enough. Not when trust was shattered, not when betrayal ran that deep. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. You can only move forward and build new ones. I closed the box of photos and carried it to the curb for donation. Inside the house, I started making changes, small ones at first. I repainted the bedroom, bought new sheets, rearranged the furniture. I deleted old photos from my phone, boxed up wedding gifts to store in the attic. Life went on. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Elena moved to another city, taking a job transfer to escape the gossip and judgment. I heard through mutual friends that she and Trevor had tried to make it work after all, but had broken up within weeks. Turned out a relationship built on betrayal and fantasy couldn't survive in the harsh light of reality. I didn't take satisfaction in that news. I just felt tired. But slowly, day by day, the pain lessened. I started going out with friends again, picked up hobbies I'd neglected, focused on my work in a healthier way. 6 months after the divorce, I went on my first date. Nothing serious, just coffee with a colleague who'd asked me out. It felt strange and uncomfortable, and a little bit hopeful. A year later, I could think about Elena without the sharp stab of betrayal. I could remember the good times without being overwhelmed by the bad. I could acknowledge that while she'd hurt me deeply, she'd also taught me valuable lessons about trust, communication, and the importance of presence in a relationship. I never did find out if she truly regretted what she'd done, or if she just regretted losing the life I'd provided. In the end, it didn't matter. What mattered was that I'd survived, that I'd chosen dignity over revenge, that I'd started to heal. Sometimes, late at night, I still thought about that moment when she walked back in and said, "Be grateful I came back." I thought about my response, the calm delivery of consequences she hadn't anticipated, and I realized that moment had been a gift. Not the gift she intended, but a gift nonetheless. It had been the moment I chose myself. The moment I decided my worth wasn't determined by whether someone else valued me. The moment I walked away from someone who'd proven they didn't deserve my love. Elena had thought she'd return to safety, to a husband who would be grateful she'd chosen him over her affair partner. Instead, she'd returned to face the consequences of her choices, and in doing so, she'd freed me to make my own choices. And I chose to move forward, without her, without the pain, without the betrayal. I chose to live. The end.